Welcome to another episode here at the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. Today I had the pleasure of interviewing Layla London from the Curious Girl Diaries Podcast. Now, we got into a vast array of subjects, and one of the subjects that I think a lot of guys would be interested in is how big of an effect or how big of a role does penis size play into having good sex, right? Because a lot of guys DM me and they're like, obviously I'm working on this, working on that. But she breaks down, what the most important factors are when it comes to great sex. Also, a lot of great stories on her podcast. And she talks about one of the experiences she had, rather, and how it opened her eyes into, how hot that could be. We also talk about a whole bunch of different things, which I know you guys will be interested in. So stay tuned. And you're going to love this one. All right, enough of me talking. Let's jump into this one, guys. Welcome to another episode here on the Masculine Health Solutions Podcast. Today, I have the pleasure to interview Layla London from the Curious Girl Diaries Podcast. Layla, how are you doing today?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Believe you me, we are very happy to have you here. I know a lot of the male audience needs to hear your perspective on a lot more about, what how sex should go down versus the perceptions of it. So enlighten us a little bit and tell us a little bit about your podcast, where they can find you right off the bat, and a little bit more about your story.
Sure. Well, first of all, I thank you so much for having me, and I will do my best to make sure that I keep your listeners on the edge of their seats. So a little bit about me and my backstory. I kind of went through this strange 3.5 year sort of celibacy period. That was self-imposed. And I just was so focused. I'm kind of a type A, all about my job and work. And I just got so focused on, that I didn't really want to even take the time to have any relationships, casual relationships. I kind of viewed it as like, oh no, that was stopping me from my goals. And so, I just put my head down, was working really hard. I'm an entrepreneur. I have been pretty much my whole life. So I'm super passionate about that stuff. And then I kind of poked my head up one day and I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't had sex for 3.5 years. Nobody's touched me. And I thought, I just had this light bulb moment. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I am wasting the pretty. Like, this has got to stop. And right now. So I very quickly shifted gears and I decided to tackle this problem I created for myself, sort of like I would any business problem. Right. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to, this is how I'm going to handle it. I'm going to set up some goals here and I'm going to measure these goals. And then if I'm off, I'll course correct until I hit the target. And so that's literally how I did it. I just said, this is wrong. I've got to change this. And literally within, I kind of laid out a plan on how to course correct. I executed on it. And within 10 days, I had broken that dry spell. And then I just decided from there, I thought, you know what? I think what I need to do is have a year-long goal and I want to keep track of it. I came up with a sex bucket list of all the fun things I wanted to try. Yeah. And I decided that I was going to, I wanted to memorialize what I was doing. And I was really curious about, well, who will I be at the end of this? Yeah. I'm sort of like, so up to that point, I'd been very vanilla and I put some things on my bucket list that were not so vanilla. And I just thought, all right, let's document this. Let's see where it goes. Originally, I thought I was going to blog about it, but turns out I'm a terrible writer. It's very painful for me to write. So I thought, well, I got the gift of gab, so I'm just going to go ahead and podcast about it. So I did, thinking that would just be a 1-year thing. And here I am 6 years later.
Wow. Yeah.
Still going strong. And I've really just decided that I need to, I always need to focus on making my sex life a priority. I know you're in the health and fitness and kind of wellness.
Yeah.
And I think that's like personal growth and personal development stuff. And it really dawned on me. I thought, this is so odd that our sexuality is such a vital component of who we are.
Yeah.
But it's such a taboo subject. And it's something that people don't actually set goals towards when, every year, like, because here we are at the beginning of a year, I'm sure a lot of people are, you might be flooded with people wanting to train them and, and whatever it is, they're starting a new path, but nobody ever says, okay, everyone says, I want to quit smoking. I want to, lose weight. I want to eat better, get better health, they have make more money, get a new job. Like, they have all this stuff. Nobody ever says, this year, I want to make my sex life just smoking. Like, it's going to be fun, exciting. So that's what I decided to do. I thought, I'm going to make my sex life a priority. And I've maintained that for 6 years, and it's been amazing. I've had some of the most eye-opening, interesting moments and learned so much about myself just by focusing on my sexuality. It's been amazing.
I mean, that's super interesting. Now you mentioned it, because most of us, like, I mean, ask any married couple, right? It kind of falls away to the wayside.
Right.
And it's almost like a business transaction. You get in, you get out. It's like, all right, cool, on to the next thing, right? What's been the biggest takeaway for you since you started on this journey?
Oh my gosh, like, I have to pick one. Let me think.
Top 3.
Oh, biggest takeaway. Well, I just think that, I will speak for women. We get caught. There's a lot of takeaways, but the one thing that I've been quasi guilty of, but maybe less than a lot of women, is, you just get caught in these roles and these, you hit certain points in certain phases in your life where you just kind of feel like maybe your sexuality doesn't deserve a priority anymore. And you sort of hang up your hat when it comes to that. And I just kind of said, fuck that. I mean, like I said, my motto is like, don't be wasting the pretty ladies. Like, just, like, what are you doing? Come on. Like, the world deserves to have that. Some guy deserves to have you at your hottest, your sexiest, your best, and men love that. A woman that's into her and in touch with her sexuality, it makes the man really happy. That's one, there's one takeaway right there. But the other thing is, just, and I don't know, I assume you don't have a lot of female listeners, but maybe that the male listeners can sort of pass this on to partners or spouses, or maybe this will give them a better understanding. Just that, we as women, I'm sure that you guys have seen this, we just get caught in these roles, whether it's, you're being the girlfriend, the good girlfriend, or the wife, or the, and you're the caregiver, and you kind of forget sometimes to sort of pour into yourself. And I found that, since I've always been about being physically fit, and probably more from a vanity standpoint, but the second that I tuned into my sexual side, it got amplified, because then I made the connection between my body being in this healthy, great shape, and how I'm aware sexually and more feeling my senses, and quite frankly, what my body can do sexually and how it can perform sexually, and the orgasms that come along with that. And so I think when you get women interested in their sexuality, naturally, then they'll want to look better, take a better sexy selfie, they'll want to exercise more, because when they do that, then all those great endorphins and that just, the little bit of testosterone that we do have gets pumping, and we start getting in touch with, our kind of carnal, sexual sides. And it's amazing. I mean, and this might be too much information, but I assume I can just kind of let it rip.
Oh,
but,
of course.
Like I've, people, like a lot of times when ask me, well, how do I stay, feeling sexy? I'm like, first thing you gotta do is exercise, like exercise every day. You know why? Because you will, again, you just start, once you do that for yourself and you make it about yourself, you start feeling sexy and you feel better, regardless of whatever your goal is or the number on the scale. You just know, like, I did something good for myself, and it's going to kind of pay itself forward. And I can tell you, there's been many times while I'm working out, because I do a lot of yoga and stuff like that. Some of these poses, like I literally feel like I could have an orgasm in these poses, and then I'll go and try those with a partner. So it's just like, it's fun. Like, I feel like I'm always on, it doesn't take me much to like get there. Or either I'm already there sexually, or like I'm living in the man zone, I guess is how I feel about it. So I don't know. Let me see. I think I did. How many takeaways did I give there?
A few, but that's exactly what I kind of wanted to take from that conversation. So, or from that part anyways, but it's 100% true. Cause you're right. It's like people neglect the fact that, their sexual side is a part of who they are. And it's kind of like the holistic approach. Everybody talks about mind, body, and spirit. I think it's just throw, your sex life into that too. Because
why do we leave it out? Why do we leave it out? I mean, I say this, if I said this once, I've said this 10,000 times on my show. It's like, your sexual drive. It's only the reason we're still here and alive on this planet after all this time. So why are we pretending like, why are we not giving it its due? Why are we not giving it the credit and the focus that it deserves? Doesn't make you a pervert. It just shows that you want evolution to keep on going, and you're going to help make it easy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the thing too that I've always noticed is like everybody makes it taboo, but everybody's doing it. So why are we making it taboo?
I have no idea.
It's weird.
I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, you're like, when you came on the other day, you're the one of the subjects you were discussing is not, it's off the beaten path, right?
Yeah.
But again, these things, for in order for someone to feel good for whatever reason in their own skin, that's why I say, like, for women, like, hey, exercise, start appreciating your body and the way it's carried you throughout the world and up to this point, and you'll start to get in touch with your that sexy side of you, and you'll because when you give to yourself, and so when you recognize something, you're like, hey, I want to fix it, you did.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's great and amazing. And I think that people should just be more, I guess, sex positive, if you want to like use a very generic term, but I just don't think it should be a subject that's so taboo, and why can't you have New Year's resolutions about your sex life? Like, why not?
Well, 100%. And it's always something that's like a clandestine kind of, like, it's got to be super something that's got to be hidden away in the shadows almost. And it's like, it really shouldn't be if it's healthy, and it's something that we all need. We all know you should, be having healthy orgasms, having a healthy sex life, and it contributes to your life positively in every which way, which is why it just makes it even stranger. I mean, the literature shows that it's only beneficial, but it's like, at the same time, it's like, well, don't talk about it too much.
Or now we have to, or everything has to be censored on movies and TV, and even worse now, like, on social media.
Yeah.
You can't, I understand there's a fine line between pornography and just, sex positivity, or, but a lot of people that are teaching sexual awareness have degrees in this stuff, they're getting shadow banned and having all kinds of problems with social media. And there's certain, like if you put hashtag masturbation, or hashtag penis or hashtag vagina, which is a clinical term, it's like now you're getting again, like, shadow banned, or you're getting in trouble with your social media platform. I think this stuff is kind of crazy. I really do. I think like, haven't we come forward? Like, why is this an issue? But it still is, unfortunately.
It is, but I mean, I think we're going to get to that point where it's going to just come to it's got to come forward anyways. So I think we're going to reach that eventually. And I feel like we're trending in the right direction. It just, I don't know. It depends on which media platform you use and stuff. But I think a lot of people are trying to learn more, which is healthy.
I do too. I do too. Yes, I agree with you.
Like I think just a little bit of time maybe, but
yeah. So it's coming.
One question I do got, because obviously, we deal with male enhancement, and from your side of things, like we talked about on your show as well, like how important is penis size versus, why does it matter and why doesn't it matter?
Yes. Well, I'm glad you asked this, because I really consider myself like a total penis connoisseur at this point. Like, I can speak to all the different kinds of penises, shapes, sizes, ethnicities, just everything. And I will say that honestly, I know that men, I think it's more pronounced I think men care about it more than women do, to be quite frank.
Yep.
And I just, I've said it so many times, on my podcast, I don't really care so much about the size. I mean, girth is nice, but honestly, I care more about how you use it. It doesn't, you're either a good lover or you're not. And when you're looking at all the things that make somebody a good lover, the size of their penis is really down on that list. And I won't say that now. I'm not trying to say that there aren't women. Some women are, we call them size queens. I mean, they're just like, that's their thing.
Yeah.
That's their preference. And everybody's got their preferences, and that's fine. But most women, honestly, we're not so concerned about the size as we are about how you use it and how, if you're getting us off. So it's more really about the skills than anything else. And so I would say, the penis enhancement is probably more, it's more for the man feeling just because that's what he feels best with in his body and in his skin. And that's totally respectable. It's the same thing as why do women get breast enhancement or plastic surgery or things like that. This is just like, it's really when we do these things, it's not for our partners or the other person, opposite sex or same sex, whoever we're coupled up with. These are things for ourselves. And so I just, that's my just opinion on it, and I mean, I've been with guys that have ginormous, I mean, like what I considered very big. Like I was like, oh my God, I don't even know if I can handle that. And then I've been with guys that just, have average cocks. And the guy that had the really ginormous penis, he was just casual. Like the other guy that I can think of, the smallest guy I've been with, I totally loved him. I mean, like, you know what I mean? So it doesn't equate the same way. But I understand, I am very much like, whatever you feel you need to do to feel good about the skin you're in and the body that you're in, do it,
Gotcha.
like I will. Yeah. I'm all for it. But, I do want men to know that I think that women really care less about it than maybe they think, or that's represented in porn and, stuff. Yeah.
But it's funny that you did mention that whole thing with breast augmentation, male enhancement. And it's funny because, at the end of the day, we're doing it for ourselves. It's a self-confidence thing. It's not like, anybody that I've talked to or any female, right, is like, nah, she did it for herself. She didn't do it for you. You know, like it always comes down to like, I want to make myself the best version of myself.
Yeah.
You know, and if somebody sees it, it's like, it's not for you. This is for me. I'm the person that's going to be
Yes.
dealing with this, and it makes
Yeah.
me feel good, right?
Yep. And I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Those are the reasons I'm like all for, like, yes, go for it. Knock yourself out, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everything I do, everything, you know, everything I've done, like the, you know, exercise. When I say, you know, like I said earlier, I think, you know, just the commitment to exercising and eating a certain way and all that. And I've kind of had that my whole life. It's sheer, I will not lie. It's sheer vanity. I'm not doing it for anybody else but myself.
Yeah.
Because no guy I've ever been with has ever cared.
Yeah.
And guys that I've been with, you know, I've seen some of their ex-girlfriends. It's like, and I'll look and you know, at first it took me a while to kind of figure that out, right? I'm looking, I'm like, she's got a few extra pounds, you know, like, or, you know, and I'm like, sorry, that's the vanity side of me going, well, I don't look like that, you know? And then this is me younger, right? This is me in my 20s going, well, you know, like,
she's huge.
Yeah, not huge, but just right. Like, I'm like, she's soft.
Yeah.
She's soft. And I'm like, you know, guys don't give a shit about, I mean, they, of course, I know. And again, there's going to be
A spectrum.
Right?
Yeah.
But most guys, it's just like, they like what they like.
Yeah.
And there's a wide range of what they like. And so the same really, you know, is true for women. And when we really want to get finite about penis size, I mean, you know, there's very, very few women that fall into that range of, you know, size queens. And that's just their thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so there you have it. But yeah, I mean, I think the girth is good. I think girth is good.
Yeah.
I take girth over length. You know, we talked about that. Like,
yeah,
a little bit girthier is better than the length. But still, again, like, you know, when I think back, it's just really about, you know, it's about the lover. It's about the mastery of understanding, you know, the connection, and then also the way my partner, you know, knows my body and all that. So
no, which, you know what, that ties in perfectly into my next question is,
yes,
what separates a good lover in the bedroom from an absolute stud? Like, where you're like, nah, this guy knows what he's doing, versus that was okay. You know, what's the main difference there?
Good question. I'll tell you. The really good lovers are hyper observant. They really pay attention to how a woman's reacting and what really turns her on. And they don't like, they listen to the cues. Like,
yeah.
So as an example, you know, if this is a really good, like, way to put it. And I just had someone on my show who put it this way. It was a guy. And I was just like, yeah, why haven't I said that before? Because it's really true. Like, if you've ever watched your partner masturbate, assuming you're heterosexual, and if she's using a sex toy or whatever, like, let's say like a Hitachi, if you've ever seen a woman use that, like, she doesn't move it all around. She puts it right there and goes, okay, and brings herself to an orgasm. And so that's a really good cue to men that when she's reacting, don't stop what you're doing. Don't mess with your rhythm. Don't mess with your cadence. Just keep going, because the worst thing, and I'm sure, and I know that the converse is true for guys. I know guys can say this too. It's like, you know, someone's getting you right to that point. They're like, you're like, oh, I'm about ready to, you know, I'm about ready to come. And then they stop or they change it up, and you're like, wait, no, what are you doing? Stand right back. And then it just, you know, it resets everything. You're like, oh fuck, I'm back to ground zero. Now I gotta like ramp up again. So I think it's just really the guys that, pay attention and are tuned into the cues of their partner's body, that those are good lovers.
Yeah.
The ones that are just trying to, that care about, you're making the other part, that they care about making sure that their partner's taken care of and that they get off too. Obviously that makes a good lover. But if you're watching too much porn and you think it's just about the pound, I'm sorry. I'm here to tell you that's not that, you've been led astray.
It's kind of like the worst reference point. And that's one thing that we talked about yesterday too, right? Where it's just like, you do that too much and you're probably going to go nowhere real quick, and you're probably just going to have, self-satisfaction, and she probably won't enjoy any of it. So
well, and if she doesn't enjoy any of it, then you have problems, because she's either going to not want to see you again, or if you're not good and you're together, she's just not going to want to do it. Then it's always going to be a struggle to get her to want to do it. I had again, I had this porn star on who was amazing, because he'd been with, over 5,000 women. His insight was so great, and everything he was saying was spot on. And I'm like, yeah. And it's just like, okay, you can look all these different places for your information, as a man, but if you find someone like him who's been with this many women, he's got the reference points.
Yeah.
And and one of the things he was talking about was like, if your girl says she just doesn't want you going down on her, doesn't enjoy oral sex or anything like that, like, you're probably bad. That's most likely. Sometimes there's a section where there could be trauma or some sort of mental block, religious stuff, like things like where women don't enjoy that. I find that's a small segment, but generally, like, if she's like, okay, just come on up and let's have sex now. Like if she's hurrying you along through it, he just honestly said flat out, like, that means you're just bad. You're not doing what she likes. And that's the good news. Is if you find yourself in that situation and that rings true, then it's like, okay, hey, good news is you can do something about it. Literally you can change that, course correct, like all it takes is like one session. You can completely do something different and achieve a different result. So it's not anything to be ashamed about. Sometimes it's hard to get to know what your partner likes and what they want and what they need. And especially if they're not communicating that. So,
yeah. And it's funny too, because I was listening to another podcast and the guy was talking about how communication outside of the bedroom is one of the most important things too. And a lot of people are just kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk about this. I just want to avoid this completely.
I know. Listen, people, you got to grow up.
Yeah.
You got to grow up. I mean, like, you're not going to have amazing sex if you can't communicate. I've had some podcasters on, some 20-year-olds, and I love having them on. I love their fresh ideas and I love their perspective, and I love hearing, like, what they're struggling with. But like, one time someone said, okay, now, like, what's the key to really good sex now? But don't say communication. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm sorry, I hate to tell you, but if you can't be your own advocate and advocate for yourself, just like you would in all these other areas of your life, healthcare, like, whatever it is, like, when you think about it, you go out in the world and you advocate for yourself all the time. When you're in the workplace, whatever you're doing, it's constant. You don't even realize you're doing it. But if you can't do that it just seems odd to me. Like, it just seems very odd to me that people think, that if they want great sex, but they don't want to communicate with their partner, it's like you would, and it'd be the same as people saying, I want a great body, but I don't want to work out.
I've heard it before.
Well, then I know. Well, then, okay. You have to be that, like, one in a bazillion million who's hit the genetics lottery, and
Fair.
and you're always eating right because
Yeah.
your metabolism it's calories in versus calories burned, I mean, like what, it's like
Yeah.
simple math, to some level. Right. And so like it's not super complicated, but it's just strange how people just don't even want to, it's like, well, I don't want to have to talk about that. Well, then you're going to get out of it what you've put into it, which is zero. And
It's not going to be that
your
great. Yeah.
orgasms will probably be zero, like he's not a mind reader. He's not going to know what to do. You got to tell him, make
Yeah.
it fun. Guys are easy. You guys, I love you. You're so, men are wonderfully, adaptive when it comes to this stuff. I find like, if a woman is willing to say, this is what I want and this is what I need, like, let's do this. I've never had a guy be like, well, no, I don't know, think I want to do that. No, they're always like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah. I mean, they don't even care if they know how to do it or not. They're just going to dive right in and give it the old college try.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Well, that's kind of true because the way our minds work is that, oh, there's a problem, I got to solve it. And that's kind of the way that we're just kind of set up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why the magic of communication, I think, is kind of as key as it is, or as it needs to be, because it's kind of like automatically in our minds, we're just like, all right, how do I fix this issue? Right. And then what do I got to do? And we just kind of like start putting together like a strategy in our minds, and then you pay attention, and the next thing you know, you're off to the races and everybody's happy.
I know. That's what I love about men. I mean, really, like, I'm so glad I'm a woman. I love men. Like, you guys are wonderful. I love that. I love that. Just that all these, masculine tendencies, and how you want to problem solve and take care and be the, like protect and just all that is great. And I've never met a guy who. This is what, I want women to understand. It's like, if you just breadcrumb it for them, like you guys are so, you are so willing, really, I think we're the bottleneck. We're the hang up here. Like, we just need to be a little more, I think just outgoing, communicative with this stuff. And, guys are all about it.
Yeah. I mean, kind of brings me to the next question I had is, what is the number one complaint that you're really hearing from other women as well? Like, is it just the lack of orgasms during sex, or what is it that they tell you? It's like, you know what, it's lacking here because of X, Y, Z. Like, what is it you hear constantly or the most?
I hear that I think it's the biggest complaint I hear is, and which has caught my attention too, because I'm like, is this a problem? But I think, since I've heard it enough, I'm like, it is. The porn. Women feel like men don't know their bodies. And I think, again, like, I really do think it's a two-pronged thing. I think, your partner can't really be a mind reader. So you have to meet them halfway. If they're willing to, experiment with you and try different things, then, you have to be able to communicate what you need. And that the women are feeling a lot of times like the men sometimes are so far off course because they've grown up with porn, and what they're seeing in porn, the way the gentleman I had on my show put it, which was great. Just said, look, people need to know that this is a produced performance for men to jack off to.
Yeah.
Period. Like this, it's a fantasy. It's not reality, and they cut out the women coming and having their orgasm, it's about like, what is this guy going to jack off to and come back for more for, and so it's not created with reality in mind, I guess. It's great. I don't get me wrong. Like, I love porn myself, and whenever I want to watch it, I do. Like, I like it. I understand the visual aid and just all the good stuff that you can take from it.
Yeah.
But I also want to caution men that, it's not going to be some woman like screaming, and 2 seconds into it, because she's coming 10,000 times when you're not even touching her clit, like
Yeah.
we have these parts, understand our anatomy a little bit. That'd be like me saying, like, I'm just going to play with your balls and maybe you'll come, like, right. Or let me see your nipples and maybe that'll get you,
Exactly.
you have this whole zone that you're missing. Right. And which is your penis. And
Yeah.
and so anyway, it's just, I think it's just actual, just good sexual literacy about each other's bodies and how they work and stuff like that. And also because everybody's unique, again, going back to the communication issue, you just gotta be okay with it, like just go for it. It's fun. It really is fun. And even if you feel shy about it, you can giggle a little bit, whatever, but
Yeah,
it really brings you closer. It brings you closer to your partner. It really bonds you. So, and that's when the good, when you have that communication factor between two people and you understand each other's bodies and, you kind of take that barrier down. Woo, that's when it gets hot.
No, it's when it gets real good, which,
yeah,
that ties in perfectly into where I was going to go.
Yeah. Oh, great. Where are you going?
Because kind of to close off here, but, and I've been on the Curious Girl Diaries podcast website, which I advise everybody to check out along with the Curious Girl Diaries podcast.
Yeah.
But one of the things, obviously I was reading like the different experiences you've had and, the different stories. And I'm kind of like, I was captivated by it. I'm like, that sounds interesting. And just going through that and I was just thinking to kind of end off the show here about you describing your favorite experience you've had, why it stands out, and kind of like a little bit of a story time.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's a tough decision because I know you got like probably
I've had so many. My favorite. Okay, so I like, I like when I get surprised. And this is what I think about, because I talk about, just sexploration and stuff like that. And I really just encourage people to make a sex bucket list for themselves and set goals for their sexuality and their sexual evolution, and either do that as a soul practitioner, or you can do this, within the within a relationship, and which is, can be even better sometimes. It just depends, there's no right or wrong, but it just, be working on that and focus on it. And because through that, you are going to just understand so much more about yourself. I've learned so much more about myself relationship wise through focusing on my sexuality than I ever thought. It seems like a kind of backwards way to get there, but it really does. It's amazing what it teaches you. And I always love when I learn something new and something surprises me. Like that's probably one of the funnest things. Like I didn't think I would like this and I freaking love it. And there's been a lot of things. So there's been a lot of kink and BDSM and things that I explored that I just thought, I don't think that's for me. I think I just want to try it because I just want to scratch it off my list, right?
Yeah.
But then you start trying these things and all these doors open. But through that process, I did end up being with a partner that he really took me just places sexually that I just had never even knew existed. Well, one of the things that I wanted to do was just go, I wanted to go to a sex club. And I didn't really have like a clear cut idea about what I wanted to do, but I thought, I had a few scenarios, I guess. I thought, well, maybe we'll go there and, you don't know what you're going to find when you go there. I thought maybe we're going to go there and we're going to find, we'll find a hot girl, I've never had a threesome, I was like, oh, maybe, just my first time, like we'll do a threesome. We'll do a threesome or just whatever, but I was just really open to whatever we uncovered when we got there. Well, when we got there, there was a lot of people there and nobody was really jumping out to me, but we seemed to be quite interesting because he's tall and I'm tall.
Yeah.
So he's 6'6" and I'm 5'10", but I love
Heels
high
on.
heels. I had heels on. So, I was like 6'4", or, I was up
Yeah.
there. Right? And so so people could we stood out, so people were just watching what we were doing, and we just started, we were really into each other that night, and hot and heavy for, the whole thing was very sexually charged. You're in this sex club and people are just having sex all over the place and doing different, and there's just different themes in different rooms and just a lot going on. And then people that are fully dressed, just walking around, having a cocktail, whatever. And I know it sounds strange, right? But when the more you go to them, the more it just kind of seems normal. It's like, well, they're over there doing that, and they're over there doing that. Anyway, so we kind of just started, making out, and he was touching me, and he had me like up against a wall, and people were kind of around us, like they were watching, they were really close. Like, I think some of them were hoping like that we would want to engage with them. And then other people were just watching because, that's what turned them on. But I never knew that just having all these eyes on me, watching me, and I was this object of, just sexual desire for them, turning them on. And that I have never been so wet in my whole life. I mean, I'm so this is my podcast about it. I talk about everything, right? I was literally like dripping down my leg. I was so turned on, and I had no idea that, I was into voyeuristic thing. I mean, like, because people would say, oh, do you like to be watched? I'm like, no, not really. I mean, like that, it wasn't even on my radar. I'm like, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, really? No. But just in that moment, being there with the right person, with somebody that I trusted, and we, and was very connected to, and we had this great bond, and, we were able to go there, and I was able to feel safe because safe and free because I was with him.
Yeah.
But then you got this added value of other people getting to watch this hotness and this chemistry and be turned on by that, to what the two of you create. Because if you think about it, what you have with someone else that's very hot, turns you on. But the minute that other people start appreciating that and getting turned on by it too, because, they see what's between the two of you, it's like, it's a whole nother level. And I never knew, like, who knew, right? And so anyway, yeah, I would have to say that was probably one of my, I've had, don't get me wrong, there's been so many revelations. Like, I seriously listen to the podcast, because, it's me documenting the evolution of my sex life for 6 years. And I go from straight up vanilla to like saying a lot of times, like, I'll never do this. I'll never do that. I've eaten my words so many times, trust me. And now it's comical. I'm like, I won't say never anymore, because I might just say, I just don't think that's for me.
Yeah. At the
there's
time,
definitely things,
yeah.
there's definitely things that aren't like, there's definitely still some things that I'm like, I just don't think that's for me. But even though I'm like pretty sure it's a never, I refrain from saying it anymore, because I have said it so many times on my show. And then sure enough, there I am doing it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like the hottest thing ever. So I just think being open and playful and, putting some effort and energy into your sexuality, it's such a big part of you, give it some love.
I guess, it's something that we can all take away and just kind of apply it into our relationships too. It's like, how do we make it a little bit more playful, a little bit more enjoyable, and what's like maybe some small thing that somebody can do to just, just liven up their sex lives.
Exactly. I mean, it's the most fun two adults can have.
Oh, definitely. I think so. Yeah.
Or even solo. I shouldn't even, you don't even have to have someone else involved, but but when we're talking about just the connectivity and the fun that two grown consenting adults can have together, I don't know. It's pretty hard to beat sex.
Yeah.
So,
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. So, I just, my hope is that, people hear what I have to say. They don't have to buy off on all of it, but just that some of it rubs off, and, you take a little bit of Layla with you, and you maybe think about like, I have always wanted to try this, and I have always wanted to try that, or I'd love to be a better lover. I mean, you can take courses, classes. There's just so many different ways to kind of, start making your sexuality a little bit closer to the top of the list,
Yeah.
that's something that's important in your daily routine.
And way to spice it up as well.
Yes. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Layla, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Tell us where we can find you. Tell us more about your website, and just let us know all about it.
Yes. Okay. So I make it super easy. I'm not going to rattle off like 10 different social medias and all that. This is what I say. Go to my website, thecuriousgirldiaries.com. If you want a link to all my socials, just scroll right to the bottom on the homepage. They're all there. You can click through. Also, if you like what you've heard today and you have any questions for me, I have a pink tab on the right-hand side of my website where you can leave me a voicemail. You can leave me a voicemail for up to 5 minutes. Just let it rip, and I will get back to you personally. So that's my favorite way for people to just give me feedback and communicate with me. And then, of course, follow me on social media, and the podcast is on my website, and then just on every major syndicator of podcasts. I won't list them all, but literally, if you type in the Curious Girl Diaries on wherever you get your podcast, you will pull it up.
I'm subscribed on iTunes.
There we go. Yay. I know. iTunes. Woo, woo. Yep. And I love good reviews. If anybody wants to leave a 5-star review, I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. That was spectacular. Layla, It was an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to have you again in the near future.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. All
right, guys. Without further ado, have yourselves a pleasant day. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.